Alrighty, so someone on the YouTubes asked me uh, about how to draw backgrounds, and can I please do a tutorial on backgrounds? So here we are, backgrounds, yay! Super special. I'm not very good at them, but I will share what tips and tricks I know. Alright, first of all, unless you're doing a comic panel, which is I consider, a little bit more advanced, you have to fit more into smaller spaces. Start with a big canvas, because then you can shrink it and make little details disappear. It's magic. It's sorcery. So the canvas I have right here is 1600 by 1200 with a 300 DPI. Always have a high DPI. You want the high DPI. 300 to 600 is best. So I usually hover around 300 and it's helpful. So it's at 50% right now for the viewing. So full size is boink boink. It'd be that big. Here we go. So, alright. First of all, it would help if you kind of know what you want to draw. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, hey, I know what I want, but you have to actually stop and think about what you want to draw, like down to the details, because in backgrounds, the more detail, the better. When there's lots of detail, the eye tends to absorb it all at once without concentrating on any specific thing unless you actually make yourself do so. So the more little details there are, the less likely anyone will know that it's not perfect. The less likely anyone will notice that that line is a little crooked or slanted, or that thing's perspective is off. It's less likely that they'll notice if you crowd your background full of stuff. And it takes longer to do, but it looks a lot nicer. For an example, I've actually got a couple comic pages I can show you that are not spoilerific. So, for example number 1, this one. Alright. That first panel took me like 40 minutes to do. I'm not even kidding. If not more. And if you look at it, first glance it looks pretty nice. You're like, hey, that looks really cool. You don't even notice that, some of the perspective is off back over here, or that some of these things are angled weirdly, or that, like, the netting on this is like, see the uneven lines right there. You don't really notice that at first, because you're like, oh, hey, this is nice. Like, look, that rug line goes swoop. What is that rug line doing? I don't know. But see, it's like, hey, we have a lot of stuff, so don't notice the little things that are wrong. Just pay attention to the fact that there's a lot of stuff. So basically, your eyes are very materialistic. I don't know. I have an example of a crappy background somewhere. Let's see if I can find one. No, this one's pretty, somewhat decent. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. Again, lots of details, so you don't really notice right away too many errors unless you're actively looking for errors. Crappy background, I'd probably have to go to my older comic pages for that. Hey, let's have fun with some. Oh, wait, nope. Where did I put them? Oh. Back here? Nope. Don't see that. Shh, spoilers. I can probably look online, but let's not do that. Crappy background is like, let's do an example one here. Nah, 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 it's a lake. Nah, those are hills. Clouds. Okay. Yeah, you can't even tell what that is. It just looks like some random pattern. It could be a pattern on a dress. But if it was colored, you'd be able to tell because your eyes will go like, hey, there's stuff. But yeah, oh shit, my CPU. No. Let's close some things. Over here, la 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 la. Okay, yeah, closing the SkyDrive. I don't need the SkyDrive right now. Close up an office. I can work on that later. Close the thesaurus. Close Google Chrome. I wasn't watching Tobuscus. You can just get the fuck out. Anything else, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm moving Trillion on. But when you have a crappy background, unless you use colors, people aren't really going to be able to tell what you're doing. They'll look at it and be like, the fuck is this shit? I don't even know. And even when you have colors, sometimes they'll be like, the fuck is this shit? I don't even know. So, but if you start to add details, like this is supposed to be a tree and some hills and a lake and cloud and mountains, but if you add details, you can actually tell what it is. Like, let's use this, and we'll make a new one for comparison. First off, you want to start with a light color for the sketching stage, because you're going to be inking in black over it. Well, I am. So you want a light pale color that you can still see, which pink is good for. You can still see, but black would show up really well against it, see? So you don't want something like, I don't know, like this, because then your eyes would get confused. Probably. Mine do. And yeah. Any noise in the background is my roommate. But yeah. So light pink, and then you have to decide where the horizon line is. The horizon is, you know, if you don't know what the horizon is, you should probably go watch other tutorial videos. But decide where the vanishing point is, so where everything's going to be angling towards. We'll put the vanishing point in the middle, because making multiple vanishing points and whatnot is a little bit more advanced than what I am willing to show to everyone, because I just kind of blunder through it myself. And then, gosh, I'm getting distracted by my roommate. She's very loud. Okay, horizon line. That's where the horizon's gonna be. And from there, you can make. Whoops, that was a terrible perspective line. What am I doing? Middle lines. Separate the picture into quadrants. I do this mentally a lot of times. I don't usually have to actually do this, but you basically make a little starburst. But don't forget where the horizon line is. Don't forget where the horizon line is. So, let's make the horizon line a little bit thicker than the other ones using the marker tool. Alright, and the program I'm using is Paint Tool Sci, in case you're curious. It's a very good program. I suggest looking it up if you can. It's more lightweight than Photoshop. It doesn't have as many, you know, fancy options, but it is pretty decent. And okay, back to the smaller pen. For 600, my standard pen size is usually a 5 and whatnot, and it makes nice clean lines, you know, pressure sensitive, like that. Alright, and let's lower the opacity to make those even lighter compared to the sketch lines, and a new layer. Alright, first off, just putting the tree kind of in the corner was a bad idea, but you know what, we're gonna do that anyway, because that's what I did, and that's what we're gonna work with. So first of all, trees aren't, you know, straight up and down. Reference images are good in this case, because you can look at them and notice like small things that you normally wouldn't look at when you're looking at a photograph. Like trees tend to be a little crooked, and they have bumps and raises, and so let's make the tree look a little imperfect there. They're imperfect, and that's what makes them beautiful. Sparkle. Just like you. More sparkles. Alright. Tree branch. Trees always have more than one branch, so if you just draw a trunk like that, and then leaves, that is wrong. That is wrong, and you should stop that right now. Because there are branches, and there's a trunk, and there's smaller details. And then leaves, you know, and you just do squiggly lines. This is what I usually do. I cheat the balls out of everything. And just kind of short, squiggly, jagged lines. Because if you've ever looked at a tree, there's lots of leaves going in lots of directions. And drawing them one by one is possible, but not something I recommend unless you've gotten very good at backgrounds and have a lot of patience and a lot of time to kill. Because it is a pain in the ass, let me tell you. And yeah, just, you know, there's little bunches of leaves and blah 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 and whatnot. And look, it already looks more of a tree than that. See? See? Alright, let's lower the opacity a little bit more on that one. And okay. And right now I'm just doing minimal detail to show you like the difference between blah 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 blah. Minimal detail, pathetic background, minimal detail, and then I'll do a more detailed one later. Alright, and then you lay out the shore of the lake, which you have to kind of imagine where the lake is. See, it's like this, and lake shores aren't usually smooth, but they're usually pretty nice. Because, you know, water erodes everything, so they wouldn't be too irregular like the bark of a tree would. And there we go. It starts going this way. And then rolling hills. And don't be afraid to use short, sketchy lines when doing a sketch, because hey, it's a sketch. No one's really supposed to see it, unless, you know, you're doing a tutorial. So, you shouldn't worry about if it looks like crap right now, because you will make it better in the inking stage or later on. Because eraser tool is your friend, unless you accidentally tab into it. But, in which case it is your worst enemy, but hey, shit happens. So, right. Rolling hills, blah blah blah. I already regret doing the hills because I am shit at hills. Let's just leave it at that. Alright. Mountains next. Let's see. 3 peaks. Oh, this will be fun. Mountains are also not straight lines, and if you are looking at a mountain that has straight lines, you should probably get glasses. But, so, they're kind of jagged, so don't be afraid to let your hand wobble. And just kind of, you know, outcroppings, whatnot. Blah blah blah. The big mountain will be closer. Things that are closer to you, to the blah, farther away from the perspective point is bigger, and the perspective point in the background is called the vanishing point, because as things get closer to it, they get smaller. So this mountain is in front, so it is taller, and then the mountain behind it is a little smaller because it's farther away. And I'll put one mountain between it that just happens to be smaller because it's shorter. So you want to keep in mind the size of things, how close or far they are from the vanishing point, in relation to each other, blah blah blah. You know, there's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're doing background. It's partially why I chose such a simple classic one as this one. You see a lot of paintings that are just mountains, a tree, and lakes. Let me just tell you that now. And for clouds, oh, balls, I don't want to sketch a cloud. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Alright. I actually have a tool inside. You can see the settings here. That it actually cheats and gives you clouds. So, you can install your own textures, make your own brushes and stuff. It's really easy. If you have Paint Tool site, you can Google how to add textures and stuff. It's super, super easy, and it's really helpful. Because like in this case, hey, look! Instant clouds! Oh, it's so magical. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, it's fucking beautiful. Look at that. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh, it's fabulous. Otherwise, you would have to use your pen tool and do that manually, which ends up looking a lot like just a random tree without a tree trunk, and it looks like crap. Let's just delete that. I'm not even gonna go there. It's not easy to sketch clouds, let me tell you that. Alright, see, that already looks a lot better, and you can tell what it is easier than that. See? Ta-da, ta-da. Hear my cat whining in the background. And now, you know, like, hey, this looks good. You can make it better! You can add more leaves to the tree. Okay, let's put the extra details on another layer so we can make it vanish as we want for comparison. Alright. You can put more leaf clusters, blah blah blah, blah blah. You can add grain to the tree, and not whole maybe. Again, reference images are your best friend unless you have been very intimate with trees before, which I've been drawing trees a long time. I know what the box looks like. this is like a standard, brown tree, grainy, blah blah blah. There's also other types of trees, like redwoods would have a different pattern. Birch trees would probably be easy because they're just pretty much straight up and down. You draw black lines on them, but whatever. So do this, add more of this, add more of this, and you can be really obnoxious and add silhouette of squirrel. Oh, look at that. Oh, look, wildlife. Fabulous. Whoa. It's already some picturesque, idealistic background bullshit. With more hills over there. If you wanted to, you can even start shading, but let's not go there yet. I don't think you're ready for the big boy pants if you're watching a tutorial on backgrounds by me. Alright, lake surfaces, rarely still. I'm not very good at water, but they usually have little waves. And you could just go like this, but make waves, but let's try to avoid the cheap and easy way out for this one. It might help to draw like a little sailboat, because it will also help set perspective for how far away the lake is from the tree, and how big the hills are, and blah, blah. Wait, what did you say? I'm not in. There's like a little sailboat over there. They're just chilling out, like, hey guys, what's up? What's up, guys? I'm just a sailboat, don't mind me. No, don't capsize me. Oh no, big wave. No, just kidding. Sea monster. Yeah. This is the sort of stuff I have to go through when I draw comic pages. Yeah. Rolling hills, it's a little bit more difficult to do detail on those when they're so far away, because normally I'd add grass and whatnot, but that's just a little sailboat. So unless it's a toy sailboat, you wouldn't see the details of the grass very far away. You could, however, draw maybe a standalone tree, which you wouldn't have to detail as strongly as the one up close because it's farther away, and details tend to vanish as they get farther away from the viewing point of the onlooker rather than the actual perspective point. So yeah, a couple trees, and maybe some bush, some shrubberies for the Knights of Me. Those are big ass bushes. That says the sailboat. Oh god, let's just erase that. Let's forget I did that. Leave the trees. The professionals. And, there we go. Happy little trees. Happy little trees. And then a random dead one. Raw. Sad tree. Dun dun dun. Lightning strikes. Even the toughest trees. This is no giant dead tree. Okay. Nah, I'm not leaving that there. Don't worry. But oh, there, see? And then with mountains, oh god, mountains. Mountains are basically plains and angles. They're a lot of sharp angles, unless it's a very old mountain, in which case time has worn it down to be smoother. But these are not very old mountains, as you can tell by the jagged silhouette. So you would use sharp angled lines to make rock faces. God, I'm so terrible at this. Why did I choose this? Why didn't I do an interior? I think I'll just show you guys a room next. God damn. Alright. In this case, more lines are your friend again. There's, fake shading from angles. Lots of rocks going in different directions. Now, this would not be a mountain climber's friend. This mountain would. Alright. This, that, and I give up. That's pretty much how I do mountains, and I'm not even sorry that a lot of the meat of my mountains is in the shading. There's better ways to do this. Look up better tutorials than me. I'm just giving you some basics here. I'm not teaching you how to do it. But yeah, so you'd put more details up on this one because it's closer. This one you'd probably hint at more than anything. It would be like, more vague lines. Not as obvious as the ones that of the ones that's closer. God damn it, why is this one turning out better than the other one? Yeah, why is fucking typical. Alright. In this one, you probably wouldn't see anything at all. It's the farthest away, so that one would just be a jagged silhouette. And the sun would be somewhere over here, and then there's the lighting and blah blah blah. This is not a shade and lighting tutorial, so let's just leave it alone. Let's see. Compare this to this to this. You see, a couple extra minutes and some fabulous lines will really help. It'd probably help if you did like a little village over here, maybe a fishing shack. Yeah. Move the dock for the sailboat. Yeah, stuff like that. See? Ta-da! The same rule applies for interiors. Let's open up a new canvas again. Let's delete that one because it looks like crap. Boink. Delete that one because I'm ashamed I ever tried to do mountains while people are watching. Alright. With rooms, same line. You need the horizon, you need the blah 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 blah. But with rooms, you have to decide where the reader or onlooker or whatever you want to call them is looking at in comparison to the composition of the rest of the room. So again, let's be adventurous this time. Put the vanishing point over here, not in the middle. Ooh, fabulous. And then a heavier line for the horizon so we don't forget it. And then make the vanishing point a little bigger so we don't forget that either. And then you can whoop, mark your lines. You can make as many or as few of those as you want. Straight up and down lines should always go through the middle of the perspective point and be perpendicular to the horizon, obviously. So, if you don't know what perpendicular means, go back to school. We're making lots this time. Lots. Of course, you don't actually need to make this many. That one was inappropriate. You don't need to make this many. No, you don't even need to make them at all, as long as you can mentally do this, which I've been doing this so long that I can do that now, but it's still really helpful to do it from time to time. It's good exercise. And this is radial perspective lines. You want to get all technical. Radial because it's radiating outwards. See? Ooh, more vocabulary words. Alright. 50%. And 38. And new layer. Alright. With room, you have to decide, is the room square? Is it circular? What shape it is? Blah 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 blah. For the sake of simplicity, let's go with it's a square. So let's just go with square and leave it at that. This is the far wall. I'm having it encompass the perspective point, but you don't actually have to do this. This is just, again, more cheating. More cheating bullshit. Gotta decide the size of the far wall in relation to the rest of the rooms. This is a longer room rather than a wide room, so these are the ceiling lines. They will not be straight, as you see. They will be following the perspective lines. There, see? Okay, let's make the room a little wider. There we go. And then you can lasso tool the stuff you goofed up on and get rid of that. Look, it's like it never even happened. That is my roommate laughing. My mic is very good and picks up even small sounds down the hallway, so shh. But okay. Now you have to decide the layout of the room. Okay. Is the person, the viewer, looking into the room? As in, the person, whatever the onlooker, let's just call them the onlooker. Okay, is that person looking through the door at the room? Are they looking through a window? Are they just magically standing in a corner? You can do any of that stuff depending on, the needs. If you want to show a door, you can show a door. since the perspective point is pretty far out there, and there are things that are going to be, pretty far from the onlookers where they're standing, everything's going to seem to be slanted. So this is where the help of the perspective lines comes into play. Stuff that is straight up and down will still be straight up and down. Notice the lines here are straight up and down. Things that are horizontal still, farther away. The closer it is to the perspective point, the more flat things get. But see. But when it comes to other types of things, and I will show you, this will be a door. In this case, normally the door would be like this. It would be an arched door like that, and the parts would be all symmetrical, but because of the angle that we are looking at, the side closer to the viewer will be taller than the side farther from the viewer. And that's because the perspective point is down here. And let's just leave it at that. Okay. And as above the horizon line, things should be taller the farther away they are from the perspective point. Below the horizon line, things should be lower the farther away they are from the perspective. See here? See how this one's taller than this one, but this one's taller than this one. See? Or it should be. I did that poorly. Alright, there we go. There, see? Like that. And you want to do the door jamb. Because again, detail is your friend. Doors are very rarely just a hole in the wall, and if they are, then they should probably be a jagged hole, and it's probably a post-apocalyptic story, whatever. But very rarely is it just a hole in the wall with no sort of decoration or anything like that. And even very rarely the wall itself is undecorated. So, and then door jamb is actually physical. It usually sticks away from the wall by just a little bit, so you can give that a little bit of shadow on the side and whatnot if you want to. Make it thicker than from this. Oh, come on, there we go. Let's make this slightly wider. There, see? That's the door jamb. That denotes how thick the wall is. See, that tells you how thick the wall is because the door jamb is that wide. And apparently the door is open. Let's decide where you want the hinges to be. In this case, let's make the hinges over here so the door would open that way. There we go. Again, straight up and down lines are still straight up and down. It's just everything else that's going to be slanted. Things get flatter as they get closer to the horizon line, but doors don't really consider that. Right. The farther away it is from the perspective point, the less deformed it will be. Like closer to the vanishing point, it'll be pretty tiny and deformed and whatnot, and then farther away it'll start to look more normal. So, yeah. This basically doing backgrounds is a lot of spatial reasoning. If you're not very good at spatial reasoning, you will have a difficult time with this, and that's fine. A lot of people have a difficult time with this. I have a difficult time with this, and I'm good at spatial reasoning, so let's just, Alright. And then, let's say there's a big window here. Which I guess that's the front door. Okay, magical. Alright. And again, it's below the horizon line, so this line will be slanted down. This is above the horizon line. This line will be slanted up. And parallel lines are your friend to know where to slant things. In this case, it should be following that perspective line there, so it should actually be less slanted, but and it's closer to the horizon line, so it should be that slanted. Well, this one should be, there we go. Alright, this one, let's make it a bay window. The kind that you sit in and read books on rainy days, or sunny days, depending on your preference. Alright.
Every game.
And, so, you'll be able to see the top. God, I'm terrible at this. Again, windows very rarely are just a hole in the wall, the exception being bay windows, of course, because they really are just a hole in the wall with glass. But in the case of details are your friend, bay windows will probably have curtains to draw over them for when they're not in use. So you draw a curtain rod up here. Curtain rods are usually not just a straight line, regardless of what you may have done when you were younger or more inexperienced at drawing. They usually have decoration on them, they're fancy, and then the curtain hangs on them by rings, so you'll want to draw those too. And then the curtain itself will hang mostly straight down, but curtains tend to be kind of wavy, so gotta keep that in mind. And don't forget to follow the perspective lines. Add details, folds. A lot of folds on a open curtain, because it's just folded up cloth. And then curtain right here. This one side will be longer because it's closer to the viewer and closer to actual size, while this one is shrunk by perspective. Alright. And window panes. I mean, there are bay windows that's just a solid pane of glass, but this is showing you detail. Detail is your friend, so let's show these window panes here. And it curves. Yeah. More detail, the better. You can completely overlook the fact that this looks like crap. And bay windows, it's supposed to be someplace you sit, so you want to add cushions and pillows. Actually, reversed that. That's a pillow, that's a cushion. But, it's like life. This one has tassels on it. Not all pillows are just like, lumps of cloth and whatnot. They have pillowcases on them. They have designs, maybe. This one has a star on it. Okay. And bay windows usually read in them, so let's have an open book like someone left it there. There we go. Ta-da! And maybe the person that usually reads in there is short, so let's have a footstool to help them hop up into the bay window. Always remind yourself, follow the perspective lines, follow the perspective lines, follow the perspective lines. They're your friends, they're your friends. Do not forget the perspective lines. Alright, and here you go, it's a little footstool. And you put a pattern on the top, because footstools usually have like a rubberized top so that your feet can grab traction. And whatnot. Let's see, what else could we add to this room? Maybe a bookshelf over here, floor to ceiling bookshelf. And it will be away from the wall, so it needs to be a bit farther away from the lines that we have set for the walls, edges, and whatnot, and the floor. So that means it's about that thick. It stands out quite a bit. Bookshelves are not just a square. So again, you want to draw the framing. In this case, the perspective lines are your friend when placing the shelves. So, like that, see? And then there's the horizon line for the shelves. The ones above the horizon line, the shelf will be like, again, slanted upwards, so you'll be seeing the bottom of the shelf and not the top of it. And then there's that. And then where it intersects with the wall, corner right here, draw a straight line from this corner to the wall, then draw a straight line up together, and that's how thick it is. There we go. Alright. And then bookshelves are not empty, so you can put random things on there. You can put a bunch of books on there, make a bunch of different books if you want. Maybe a slanted book, because usually a book will fall down. It can have maybe a jar full of stuff. in this case. I know my usual colorist Shiloh's watching, so let's make them eyeballs. He hates eyeballs. He's gonna see this and go, "No, you bitch," and I'm gonna go, "Ah, ha, 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 ha." And then there's very rarely just one thing on a shelf unless someone's like, making it purely for decorative reasons. So keep in mind who the room is supposed to be for as well. If someone's very organized, chances are things will be more aesthetically pleasing and a bit simpler. There won't be clutter and stuff lying around. I like characters that like clutter because then I get to draw more stuff. So stuff laying around, whatnot. Maybe they've got a basket down here. That's a basket, I swear. It is. I swear. And it's got plants in it. If they've got a jar full of eyeballs, they're either psychopathic or a witch or alchemist of some sort. So, maybe there's a crystal ball up here with a fancy stand. Got lots of little details on it, claws holding onto it. Of course, the bookshelf itself, in a lot of cases, a lot of them have ornamentation of their own, but we can worry about that later. Again, reference images are your friend. Maybe they've got a sort of lantern on the wall, which brings into mind the light source of this room. If it's nighttime, the light source will be this lamp. If the curtains are closed. If it's daytime, the light will be the window, and the lamp will be dark. So, and then you'll have to, okay, lighting tutorial is for another day. But, maybe ugly little lantern over here, whatnot. The candle inside, because lanterns have candles. Or crystals, depending on if it's a high fantasy setting or whatnot. Maybe we've got a cozy, huge-ass armchair over here. Things will be smaller as they get closer to the vanishing point. I'm pretty sure I said that before. So this armchair would be a lot bigger if it was closer. A lot bigger. And a little ottoman maybe. It's sat in a lot, so the cushion would be bent. Stuff like that. Maybe they've got a rug. And the rug itself, very rarely are rugs just a single color, except in The Sims. So you'd have like a border maybe. Let's use the rug I usually put in a lot of Fae homes. I don't know why this pattern's popular or something. I don't know. Little, maybe because it's simple and yet looks like it. There we go. And then dot 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 dot. You put something in the middle if you want. Blah. If it's a new rug, the edges will be sharp cut and clean. If it's an older rug, maybe there'll be some torn edges, fraying a little bit. Is the floor wood? Is it lined up this way or is it that way? And stuff that you want to remember is people are sentimental usually. So unless your character is very purposefully not sentimental, the person who lives in the house or decorates or whatever, they'll probably have pictures on the wall, portraits, things that they like to look at. If they're an artist, they'll have a lot of pictures they drew, a lot of pretty pictures. If they're not an artist, and they'll probably have photos of family, portraits, blah blah. People like convenience, so near chairs there'll be like end tables or things where they can put stuff down, or shelves. End table in that case. There, see? Now like went from that to that. There. And it didn't even take that long. And even this is pretty sparse. You could put a chandelier up here of some sort. Let's make a goat horn chandelier like the ones in Skyrim. There. And this is the crappiest chandelier anyone has ever drawn in their life. But it's just an example, so suck it. But details are your friend. As I've said many, many times, details are your friend. The more you add, the less likely they'll notice your fuck-ups. Like that window, for example. Let's not talk about the window. Shading and lighting helps. Dramatic lighting helps. You want to draw the eyes towards the main focus. In this case, the vanishing point is over here, so you want to angle things to make the eye look over here. Or if that's just the background, that's just perspective, you want to angle things so that the character standing here you know, in their manly pose. Like that is the focus. Yes. Yes, look at me, I'm manly. Yes. Whoosh. Okay, that's the point. Anyway, so those are my tips and tricks for drawing backgrounds. If you've got questions, post them in the comments. Blah blah blah, stuff like that. And practice. Practice is your friend. References are your friend. Little details are your friend. Don't be cheap just because you want to hurry up and get a picture done. And always visualize what the room is for, who designed it, and keep small things in mind. Alright, and I'll see you next time. Bye.